practice and for some of their meets. Remind me, do they pay us for that?
Yes, ma'am, they do.
And do they come every day?
During their swim season, they come on certain times of the week.
I guess one of my questions is, if we cut back the hours that we're talking about here, how will that impact those swim teams?
It will impact.
Because this is one of the few facilities that they have access to.
Going from 89 hours to 45 hours or anything in between is going to drastically impact anybody that's using the facility, swim teams alike, Hurricanes, any swim teams, whether they're with the Muskogee County School District or the private swim teams, or depending on what we have seniors that come in the morning, there's going to be a dramatic impact going from 89 hours where we're currently operating at going to 56 or 45. Someone is going to be impacted, as well as the members that utilize the facility.
Do you think that it will be impacted enough, for example, for these high school swim teams, that they will no longer use our facility?
It all depends on the time of day they want to come in and use it. If you go from 89 to 45 hours a week, more than likely, if they want to come in the morning, that's not going to be possible. The evening hours.
They don't come in the morning. They come in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
But we do have some that come in the morning, swim practice, I'm saying.
Okay.
Evening would be a prime time still, and it'll be a more competitive process because that's what people are going to have access to.
And I don't mind, because, and we're using vendor A in lieu of name because we wanted to share this with you before we go any further. And so we can't release a lot of information, but what we can do is talk to the swim teams at the School of Hurricanes and let them know that we are discussing hours of operations of the Aquatic Center, 89, 56, 45, and here's what it could look like in either of those situations, and try and figure out how that's going to impact them so that we can at least let you know when we come back that, we recommend this number of hours, and by the way, with that, here's how it's going to impact those stakeholders, big high volume or users or organizations.
I think that would be some valuable information to have, Mr. City Manager, when as we talk about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
We have Councilor Baker.
Thank you. Dr. Worsley, is the disparity in the chemical cost, is that just the buying power of a company versus the city? Because all of them seem to run consistently that we have a much higher chemical and supply cost.
I can't speak for the company A in terms of their buying power, but I can say in terms of our staff being there and seeing what it costs to buy and how much of it you have to use. That is why the numbers.
So these are based on our actuals.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. If you went to the 45 and you had an opportunity to book an extra event or 2 or 3, could that be absorbed in?
Say that again. I didn't follow
If you went to, say, a 45-hour model,
okay,
but yet you had an opportunity to land 2 or 3 or 4 more events.
Well, that would be based on the staff that we have. You have to have people in order to bring in an extra event. Even
right. Would the event fees more than cover that cost?
More than likely not. And I'm going to say this is a misconception about when we say we bring in swim meets to the city. I think this needs to be said. Swim meets are great to bring into the facility. As you know, it brings in heads and beds, has great economic impacts the community. However, when we bring a swim meet to the facility, we take a percentage of that. Those monies go to the swim team that bring in the swim meet. We get very little of that money, so that's not a lot of buying power there. Yes, it's overall for the city, but that money does not come back directly to the checking account to Parks and Recreation.
And we had that conversation. I mean, I've had it with staff, whether it's a softball or soccer or even tennis, I would presume. The overall community benefits, because if you bring in an event here and there, but at the end of the day, when you draw your line and try and calculate what we did internally, we actually took a loss. I mean, it went to the hotel motel tax and the restaurants and where you buy fuel and all these other places, but the city facility itself, whether it's South Commons or they don't
Okay.
see that revenue at the end of the day, the net profit, because we don't get it. Everybody else benefited. We improved the quality of life. We did a lot of great things.
Right.
But you don't see it in our
I
revenue.
understand, okay. Could you put up the 56-hour model just for 1 second? That's what,
Okay, let him get he changed on me. Is this comparison one? You want the one that's solo?
yeah, the solo.
Okay. This one?
That was it. I'm looking at the salaries cost. Is that,
Okay, this is company A56 model, and you're looking at what now?
that's not what's on my page.
What do you have
I
on
just
yours?
want to make sure which set of numbers I need to be looking
The
at.
same number is the 89 hours. That slide.
Your top two line items, the personnel cost. On my sheet, it's different than on your view screen, is all I'm
On our
saying.
sheet, it shows 263,000 on the top line and 255 on the second line, but your total is the same. So somehow the
Okay,
numbers.
somehow the slide must have got, your 56 hours, let me just think.
Those two numbers are different than what's on the screen, but that number's the same.
as the 89
I got you, okay, that's.
So I don't think, yet those numbers would total more than 1048, right?
Most likely, and it's an error.
Okay.
We can quickly fix
So the
that.
one in our handout is the one we need to use as a reference
Right.
while we're looking at it. Okay, that's fine. That's
That's
not the
correct.
problem. I just want to make
Okay.
sure that, as we go back and study this, that the
And that's a
handout
good
is the one we need.
CPA for you, you
The
know.
the handout is the one we need to refer to.
So the one, so
Okay.
just so I understand, so your 56-hour one, at where it says total cost, does it say 1,048,877?
Yes.
It does. It's just the personnel costs are different. 263 versus 336.
Oh, I see.
255 versus 377.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
I just remember, we didn't do the presentation on November the 10th.
Your slide is different from this.
Probably just need to update that slide. I believe is what you need to do.
No, it's correct in here.
Yeah.
Those are just wrong on the screen.
So we just refer to the handout.
Yes, please refer to the
I didn't know if
handout.
this is posted anywhere, like on our website or any place like
No,
that.
no, no,
Okay,
this,
okay.
you're the first to see this,
Gotcha.
this information.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get it corrected.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to my attention, I appreciate that.
Counselor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just, what were the responses? Because I would assume that if the numbers coming in from Company A with regards to revenue, chemicals and materials, when y'all saw those coming in so much different, I'm assuming that committee asked for a little more detail on how they calculated that. I mean, and did they stand by those numbers based on their experience serving other pools, or did they say, well, we got a little ambitious with those?
And I don't think they said they got ambitious. Anyone that presented, they stood behind the numbers that they presented. I do recall hearing at some point, I don't recall which one said it, but in terms of buying power, that did come up. Companies that are able to buy in bulk are able to get things sometimes cheaper.
And that was the assumption I made when I saw that discrepancy. But I guess where I'm more concerned, and what probably matters more to us, is their revenue projections. Did we ask them to drill down, and did we explain to them were they privy to what we had come through the turnstiles this year so far?
Yes, we provided them all the information that we could provide them. We currently have. We didn't hold anything back. We were very
Okay.
transparent with our information.
Well, and just based on a communication from the deputy city manager, I think they did have a marketing strategy, marketing plan that you can't share
Right.
tonight.
That's right.
And in your projections, you probably did not have a marketing plan strategy. I don't know, I'm asking.
Did we, Parks and Recreation, have
Yeah.
a marketing plan? When we presented this back in 2000, and I forget what year it was, we had a business plan.
In these numbers, though.
And yes, so our information is based on how we market as well.
Well, and that's where I was going with this, is that these companies that are making proposals to operate this facility, that's how they make their living. You guys do an amazing job with customer service. And by the way, congratulations on being recognized for it nationally. Very, 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 very impressed and very proud of you, and thanks for bringing those kind of accolades to Columbus, Georgia. But it ain't our bailiwick. You know, you guys are an incredible jack of all trades when it comes to Parks and Rec, and you do more with less than most folks I know. But I'm trying to gain confidence in their numbers on the revenue projections. I'm trying to find out if that was a discussion that was had about marketing, about some specialized marketing that they can do, leveraging other centers that they may manage within this region, looking for ways to try to steer more business. I won't say misinformed, I misunderstood when we were talking about building an auditorium, because when we talked about the revenue generated, we did talk about economic impact for the city, but we talked about this facility, as I recall, being principally a competition center, and that we were going to try to accommodate the public during the winter months so that they could continue to exercise. We did a cool-down pool, I think, specifically designed to allow seniors to have access because it was a sort of a therapeutic deal. So I got to say I'm a little alarmed, and this is not at you because this is something that was presented long ago. I'm very surprised to hear that the dollars are carved up so much that we don't make as much on the meats as we do. Because my initial reaction would be to, well, let's make sure we find out when the teams want to practice, and that's when it will be available in a corner or something for the public, because it seemed to me that's where the most of the butter on the bread was going to come from. But is there a way to renegotiate that with some of these people? I don't want to gig them, but I want to make sure we get paid for the time they're using the water.
Well, we want to make sure we get paid as well, but I think you have to look at the other side of that coin, too. When the public's going to come and they're going to come stand here on public agenda or whenever, when they see you out in the public, they're going to want time to use the facility for programming. And so, you know, I don't want it to become a country club mentality where people feel that from the public perspective it's just for those that swim or it's just for those that compete. Because currently we have a swim team there. A lot of facilities that are known as competition locations, they have multiple swim teams that run out of one facility. We have one swim team that go out and get swim competitions and bring in, and we work with the sports council.
And I understand, and I know you're saying we're going to have folks to the public agenda, and you know what, I'm okay with that, because at this juncture, if we determined, and we didn't, but if we were to determine that our money was made from the competitions, from the schools, from the teams, I don't consider them country club, by the way. But then, in my opinion, for now, that's where we'd have to gear our efforts to make sure it's available. It doesn't mean we exclude the public. It just means that the public, if they want to utilize this facility, which is an anomaly in a municipality, having a covered, heated indoor pool, I mean, that's I wouldn't call that a basic quality of life issue. I'd call that something that we have put out there to try to benefit the people of this community. So I think that when our revenue is limited, if the majority of our revenue comes from the meets, then the public, are going to have to try to work around the hours when the training is done.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. That's not where the majority of our revenue comes from. When we look at these facilities, and we've looked at facilities all across the country. Is it coming from the individual pays? Bread and butter are programs, your swim lessons, your programs that you have someone in the facility putting together. You have a programmer coordinator that is programming in the facility. You have classes, whether you're talking about Zumba classes or you're teaching classes. That's where the bread and butter for these facilities come from. Not necessarily your swim meets for facilities that are built like this in terms of municipalities. And you can go to Charlotte, North Carolina, and Cherokee here in Georgia. You'll see that very similar setup.
I can't help but think if we were building a facility that was going to be designed for programming for, swim lessons, we could have certainly done it for a lot less money. That's my point. And I know I've gone in there a number of different times. I like the fact that it's available. I know some of our firefighters have done training in there. But yeah, I've gone in there early in the morning, and that's the country club, because there's maybe 4 people in there swimming in that pool, and we've got all these personnel open. It's just, if that's what it was going to be, in my opinion, we spent way too much money to build it.
Right. And I appreciate those comments. I think we have it now, so the problem is now, what do we do with it and move past this?
Okay, we've got Counselor Davis.
Dr. Worsley, is on the 56-hour model, is the 230 for, I know Councilor Baker asked about the cost of chemicals, and you said it's an actual number, but is that is the 56-hour model a typo versus the 89-hour?
Is the 56-hour model a typo versus the one on the screen? We said that there was an error on the one on the screen, and according to what you had on in front of you, is what we discovered a few minutes ago.
The one you have is correct, the one up there is not.
Well, and Councilor Davis, I think that partly explains the difference in numbers that you saw.
Well, that's on materials. Now, I was dealing with the labor.
Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about with labor. Councilor Baker pointed out that the numbers on the screen were different than the numbers in the copy of the presentation that you have. Your copy is correct. The numbers on the screen were not correct in personnel and salaries.
Well, that's the copy I have. It's the same cost. I was just wondering, it's the same cost for 56 hours in chemicals versus 89, and that's supposed to be an actual. I didn't know if that was a typo or...
You're talking about chemicals. On your 56-hour one, you have 54,200. Is that correct?
I've got 364,000 in the handout. That's your total chemical and supplies and program equipment.
Are you adding two numbers together?
I'm looking at what was given me in the comparison between Company A and Parks and Recs. I'm looking at the Parks and Recs.
Are you looking at the comparison slide?
I'm looking at the comparison. It's the same number for chemical supplies and program equipment as whether it's 56 hours versus, right, page 5, page 6, 89 hours. I didn't know if the 56-hour model was a typo, or it just tells me it's the same cost for additional 33 hours.
Okay.
Parks and Rec, on the Parks and Rec side, correct.
Are you looking at Parks and Rec side or the Company A side? I'm just trying to make sure.
I'm looking at Parks and Rec.
Oh, okay, I thought you were on Company A side. I'm sorry.
Because the chemical numbers are the same for 89 and 56, because you still have to maintain the same
Right,
amount of
okay.
chemicals.
Exactly, okay.
And then it goes down a little bit for other costs.
Right. Okay. I understand what you're saying now. Yes, you're correct. That is not an error. It is the same for 56 as it is for 89. We still have to maintain the facility, maintain the chemicals, even if you have no one in the pool.
Well, and I guess my question would be, is that an actual cost on 89 hours, or are you just being conservative? Because actually, if you're conservative, your cost will come down.
No, we're giving you numbers that based on our 7 months of data, based on our experience of what we use in outdoor pools, all those things collectively give you the information.
Okay. The last thing I noticed too on the when I look at Company A, when I look at their personnel, I know that whether it's 45 hours, 56, or 89, it's the same listed personnel. The numbers change, and I don't know what that equates to as far as lifeguards. We really don't know. It just says lifeguards, and I don't know as far as overtime. But when I look at our model, 45 hours, 56 hours, and then I look at 89 hours, we added a aquatics division manager for 89 hours and a program supervisor for 89 hours. So if that's the weekend we're talking about, wouldn't we need that for...
We're not talking about the weekend, Counselor. We're talking about 89 hours for the entire week. The cost for Company A for the 89 hours, yes, they have more, as I said in the presentation earlier, they have more, they're heavier on their management side, full-time employees. We are less actually on our management side at 89 hours at full-time employees.
Well,
But we have given you ideas of what those positions would be to manage that location and our aquatics division as a totality.
And I don't have your hours of operation in front of me. I'm assuming you would cut your hours short per a 5-day week, and then you would add additional hours or days on the weekend. Is that correct?
We would have, for the 89s, or for which one you're talking about? 89, it would be the same as it is
Well,
now.
89, I'm assuming that you would lengthen your weekdays, and then you would add weekends?
We wouldn't change anything in terms of the 89. It would be just as it is as today.
I think we're
No,
not understanding.
I think
each
you
other
asked
here.
you're asking about the 56 or the 45.
In comparison.
How would you, in other words, you might have 6 hours during the weekday and
Right.
10 hours on the weekend is his
Right.
point.
Do you have that? Do you have that list?
But you know, you don't have to, I don't think he's asking that you get into that now, but
No,
he just,
Actually-
It would decrease. The hours would decrease, and of course, the
Well-
personnel along with those hours
Correct.
would decrease according to our needs.
I guess my question is, why wouldn't you have an aquatics division manager and a program supervisor for 45 and 56 hours of operation?
You saying why would we or why would we not?
Why would you not?
That's one question. That's one answer. We couldn't afford them, and with less hours of operation, we're giving what it would take bare minimum to operate the facility based on the models that we have provided. Would we
But-
like to have that person? Yes, but can we afford it?
Well,
No.
and I didn't want to focus too much time on the Parks and Rec. Perhaps you do, because it's our full intention to bring back a third party
Well,
And not-
I mean, I'm trying to get comfortable here.
and not operate it internally, because our preference.
Well, let's do that. I think you understand the questions, right? So we'll just, you can respond to us in writing to save some time tonight. If that's
Before I
okay.
leave, I have to be honest. I don't understand what your question is that you're referring to for me to
Okay.
provide you feedback to.
It's really simple. If I was running an operation here, I think I would want a division manager for either 45, 46, 89 hours. I don't know why I would add a division manager if I'm running 56 hours and all of a sudden I go to 89 and now I'm adding a division manager and a program supervisor. My question is, it looks like Company A has factored that in, but we're adding some pretty hefty labor. That's a manager. That's a division manager. A division manager runs an operation. You're bringing it in as you increase after 56 hours. I'm trying to understand that aspect of the labor, and a program supervisor.
When you have 89 hours versus 56 hours, you're going to have, it's going to be more staff intensive. You're going to have more people that the person's going to be responsible for. You drop down to 56 hours, you're dropping staff at every level.
And so, yeah, and I think we could, Counselor, maybe talk to you prior to our coming back, and maybe get some clarification and answer your question when we may answer it, and then we can reiterate it when we come back.
That would be fine.
And so let us do that. Let us try and get the spreadsheet to show where the difference is in the expense, and then try and answer some of the other questions you might have.
All right, well, thank you,
Welcome.
Dr. Worsley, and I think you have another.
Yeah, let me just, if there are no other questions at this time, here's what we'd like to do, and you can give us some direction. We're going to put together the spreadsheet, and as I've indicated, and feel free to email us or call us with any questions or other information you will need prior to our coming back to you. I'm going to have Dr. Worsley and staff contact organizations like school district and see how if we go below 89 hours, existing the current hours that we provide in service, to 56 or 45, based on their practice schedule and when they need the aquatic center, how that might impact the professional team, the Hurricanes, or school district. And so we'll be able to answer that for you. And we'll be able to talk to the preferred vendor after we talk to them to see how and if we can work to accommodate. And then it would be our intention to bring back to you the preferred vendor with the number of hours based on what we can afford, and based on how we are able to fit those other organizations into those hours, because we need to try and accommodate them. And then we would look for a decision from you or some direction from you at that time, if that's okay.
All right, we have Counselor Thomas.
Excuse me, and Mr. City Manager, would you also bring back a sample or an example of what the hours would actually
Sure.
be
Yeah.
at 89, that it's going to be 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday, that kind of thing, so we can have that to take a look at too? Just,
Yeah.
and I know it probably would not be final until you get down to it, but just give us an example of what you would do.
Well, but
Thank you.
And I hope you're asking for the hours based on what we can afford, what those hours would be.
What I'd like to see is what is our current schedule?
Sure.
When are we open? If we're going to cut that to 56 hours, what do you see
Gotcha.
that looking
Gotcha.
like? If you're going to cut to 45,
Yeah.
what do you see that looking
Sure,
like?
certainly.
With some
And
days and
Yeah, I agree.
times.
I mean, I totally appreciate what you're trying to do is give us a full picture of what the current budget allows. But I think in addition to that, you need to sort of say, what's the budget to do what we've been doing, which is
Sure.
80-something hours.
Gotcha.
So, just so that they can see the difference.
And that's what
Not
that
saying
is,
that you're
and we'll
suggesting we do that.
fine-tune it.
Just to, right, just to, so we
Yeah.
can see the magnitude differential.
We'll
Not
do.
that we, and I'll go ahead and state publicly, not that we believe you will be recommending that, just that you'll be providing that
Sure.
information. So,
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll certainly do that. Okay.
right, okay.
Good.
All right, and so now we're talking about Cooper Creek?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Just to give you a very quick update on the Cooper Creek expansion project. This is actually an area view of the Cooper Creek expansion project right off of the main entrance to the left. Just some of the project highlights to bring back to your remembrance. It's going to have 12 hard courts with lights, 9 clay courts with lights, 2 post tension hard courts, 4 quick start courts, a clubhouse and restrooms. There will be an increase from the 8,000 square foot to 12,000 square foot for this facility, and of course tennis court shelters. That's a total of actually 27 courts that will be at the new facility. A few project updates on what's happened so far since the project has started. This year in July, site work began. This month, the groundbreaking was last Monday, November the 9th, and building construction is also scheduled to begin this month. Next month, you can expect court construction scheduled to begin, and then in 2016, as we move into the late summer of next year, anticipated completion is expected, and grand opening at a designated date. So show me the money. What does the money look like? Well, the fundraising, of course, has been going on for some time now. The project estimates to be $7,909,349 with an endowment of $1 million. The total project at $8,909,349. To date, pledges have come in at $8,267,107 with the goal of $8,909,349. You can see the difference. The balance is what is needed is $642,242. And so fundraising efforts have gone very, very well. It's going to be a beautiful facility, and if I can answer any questions, I tell you it will be very short. That is the information that I have at this time regarding this particular project. And I know a couple of you were there last Monday, and it's going to be a great facility. We're excited about it.
All right, it doesn't look like there's any questions at this time.
Yeah. And Madam Mayor, let me just, so the public will know this, this is a project that was undertaken by CORDA, the Tennis Association, and the city back a number of years ago did pledge $1.5 million that would come from the OLOS, other local option sales tax, when we were going to do bonds, and that's where our $1.5 million would come from. And we were going to go out a second. Initially we went out to do the early projects, and then we were going to do the jail later and the Cooper Creek 1.5, and we have not gotten to the point that we needed to do the jail, and so we pledged and committed $500,000 a year over 3 years to CORDA, and that went through the budget process, and so that $9 million that you see is not coming from the city, but it's a public-private partnership, and our portion was $1.5 million.
Okay. All right, thank you.
With that, we're going to call on Engineering Director Donna Newman to talk about radio maintenance.
Okay. Just as a reminder about our radio system, in the first bullet, you'll see all of the city agencies that currently utilize the radio system. In the second bullet, these are the agencies outside of the city that are on our system that we provide a service to. Mobile Communications, also known as Motorola, they have a local office, and they're currently under our contract to maintain our 3 tower sites, but they also maintain other systems within the city for private agencies, businesses, and other municipalities. The radio communication section is contained within the Traffic Engineering Division of the Department of Engineering, and we maintain, with 3 personnel, about 1,800 mobile and handheld radios on the system. As you know, we're in the process of upgrading the system from an analog system to a digital system because of the analog system is becoming obsolete. We no longer can get customer support for it, and also for compliance within the federal and Georgia standards so that you have cross-communication among different agencies. We are at a point in this upgrade that we need to make a decision, and that's why we're coming to council. We need guidance. We're going to have to make some pretty substantial capital investment in equipment if we retain the maintenance in-house within the city operation. I believe we're the only municipality in the state of Georgia that currently maintains their radio system. And this is just to give you an idea. There's a $150,000 piece of equipment, and then we have additional training that would need to be done for the 3 personnel, and that's at $75,000. I'll also say that in FY14, we had a 4th position, but it was frozen in that budget, and we haven't had that position. We're going into our 3rd year now. Manufacturer recommends all radios receive an annual optimization check at an hour per radio, so that would require each of the 1,800 radios to be touched for a period of a minimum of an hour. And so as part of this process, Motorola has presented a proposal to the city to privatize that system. And I'm going to let Doc go into more detail. He's been working with Motorola, and he's also been to Chicago, where they did a brief demonstration of our system in operation.
What we're talking about here is the portion of the system that our public safety officers and our city employees use every day, the mobile radios in the vehicles and then the handhelds that you put on your waist. Motorola is giving us a proposal to maintain all those radios in their entirety except for some incidental things like antenna replacements or battery replacements or the belt clips that need to be replaced due to just natural wear and tear. They also are offering to maintain the uninterrupted power supplies that are at each of our 3 tower sites. We have generators and UPS at each site so that in the event there's a power outage or there's a storm, that the radio system will continue to operate without any fluctuations or any loss. They'll also provide the nonstop customer support for the radios. There are some costs that have come up during this conversion process that Motorola is also willing to absorb as part of their proposal. The primary tower site out at Garfield, which is off of Chautauqua Road, there were some structural modifications needed on the tower to support the additional equipment that needed to be installed on the tower. There were also some UPS and generator repairs at this same site that had become damaged due to lightning strikes over the summer. We had a terrible time this year with lightning strikes and lots of repairs that need to be done. Also, there's a performance check that Motorola would do initially for all 1,800 radios at an approximate cost of $111,000. Again, these are some things that are incidentals that we would still be responsible for budgeting. We still have to provide the power to all 3 tower sites. There are the incidentals about the equipment, the radios, the antennas, batteries, and clips. We would also be responsible for, groundskeeping at the tower sites and maybe building maintenance or anything that happens at the buildings at each of these 3 tower sites. And I know this is very hard to read, but this is a rough 10-year cost of the privatization versus retaining our system the way it is and all the costs associated. And if you look at the far right side at the total for 10 years, the cost is about equal, but what I have not compensated for are things like health care costs that might go up over the next 10 years for our employees, other costs that we just don't know about. Motorola's proposal that they have given us for the 10 years is a constant or consistent number amount for the next 10 years. And I can give you a better copy of this if you want to look at the numbers more closely. This is the tough part of what we're looking at in the conversion or the proposal of the privatization is our employees and allowing them to merge into or move into other positions in the city. What we're proposing is for the supervisor of our radio shop to maintain his position for the next year or two to help smooth the transition between the current public maintenance and then the privatization. We also have 2 radio technicians, and we are proposing that they have an opportunity to move to our traffic signal shop. We have 2 personnel that have already informed us that they intend to retire within the next year. One of the 2 technicians already has experience in our signal shop before he went to work for the radio shop and could hopefully merge into that position. And then we also have the technician 1 position that could also move into that second retiree position. In summary, we believe that this will result in long-term savings for Columbus Consolidated Government. One of the biggest reasons is that we are competing with private firms and private companies for personnel. This is a very specialized type technician position, and even the privatization folks, even Motorola is telling us that it's getting very difficult for them to find trained personnel to do this type of work. If we keep the shop open, we would be competing with them to keep our personnel. And again, as Ms. Newman mentioned, we are right now the last known shop in the city of Georgia, or in that city in the state of Georgia, that has our own shop. What we are proposing from a time schedule is that we could present this back as a resolution to you at the December 8th meeting, and then the contract, if it was approved, would become effective on the first day of July 2016 when the new fiscal year starts.
Okay.
And with that,
We do have a question. Doc, please promise me you're going to get us a spreadsheet that we can read.
yes, we will do that.
Okay,
Yes.
a much larger,
Okay.
like
We can do that.
150%, 200%. Okay, Counselor Henderson.
Well, that was my first request. And I looked at that thing in this handout, and there's no way. Doc, kudos for looking for innovative ways to control what is our most volatile cost, and that is personnel, and doing so without, to be crude about it, put any blood on the floor. We're going to be able to take care of the people that work for us now. The only question I would ask, and I know it's probably too late to do this, and this has just long been a burr under my saddle, and that is that Motorola has been a sole provider for us for probably well over 22, 25 years, maybe much longer than that. And initially, I know they said there were safety issues because Motorola was much more dependable than some of the other radios that are being used. I can't believe, though, in the age of technology that we live in, that they haven't sort of equalized. I'm just curious, have we run this by any other providers or any other private companies? And I know Motorola's done a great job for us, but when you can provide some incentive for them to keep their sword, or in this case their pencil sharp, sometimes you've done an amazing job. It's one of those deals where I'm saying, could we have pushed it just a little bit more? So anyway, I don't want you to start all over with a thing, but I'd sure hate to find out, because years ago I do know it was validated and proven that Motorola was significantly more expensive, and that had a lot to do, I think, with their reputation for dependability. I just wonder if the price has levelized as I would anticipate the dependability has.
There are other companies out there. Again, I go back to what you were saying about dependability is in a environment like this and in the type of equipment and the need to be reliable for the public safety, that I think that's one of the reasons why we still feel Motorola is our best option.
And listen, I think as a brand, they've done an amazing job as far as making sure we all believe they're the only ones that never break down. But regardless, good job. Appreciate what you did. It was a good presentation.
Any others?
All right. I think that's it for council questions anyway.
Well, and Madam Mayor, that concludes my agenda, but I would like to mention just a couple of things. You received some handouts. The tax allocation district advertisement, I'm not going to go through it, but Director of Planning Rick Jones provided you the dates that the advertisement will appear in the newspaper and when we're going to come back for public hearings and what we've received from the Fort Benning Technology Park and the River District redevelopment plan. They've talked to tax assessor. They've had some communication with tax commissioner, and we've invited the staff invited the tax commissioner to come back or to come on December 8th to share her concerns. She does have concerns, as I know some of you do, with revaluations and so forth. But we are going to continue through the process. We are going to provide you all of the information we can provide you, to include tax digest information, which some of that is currently under review, that you will be able to know exactly where it would place us if you proceed forward, and make informed decisions as to whether we should or should not proceed forward with these tax allocation districts. So this is just an information sheet to let you know that we're still working it. Also, I think you received in your information section from Uptown Columbus a Uptown Tax Allocation District public information meeting for River District TAD that they've scheduled for November 30th, 6 o'clock, upstairs at the Loft at 1032 Broadway. November 30th, 6 o'clock, upstairs at the Loft, 1032 Broadway, a public information meeting on the River District TAD, and that's done by Uptown. So it's not the city doing it, it's Uptown Columbus doing it. And then I'd ask staff, hopefully you received, I think I can see that you did, the holiday schedule for during the week of Thanksgiving and the garbage collection Thanksgiving holiday schedule. And let me just say that household waste and recycling, if on Monday, November 23rd, household garbage and recycling will be collected on Monday, November 23rd, for those who receive those services on Mondays and Thursdays. So if you receive residential collection, household waste, or recycling on Mondays or Thursdays during the week of Thanksgiving, your garbage will be picked up on Monday, November 23rd. So Monday, Thursday routes will run on Monday, November 23rd during the week of Thanksgiving for waste and recycling. If you receive service or your routes run on Tuesdays and Fridays, you will receive household garbage and recycling pickup on Tuesday, November 24th. No service on Wednesday because we don't provide it currently on Wednesday. So instead of you receiving it Thursday or Friday, you're going to get it Monday and Tuesday that week. And we've got commercials, and I think staff has a commercial that I've asked them to prepare to run, and so it's a very short commercial, and I'm going to ask them to run it right.
Guys, I wanted to let you know that the promotion for the makeup day went extremely well. Now we've got two-day holidays coming up. What are we going to do about that? You got any ideas?
Well, that's easy. We'll just continue to use Wednesday as our makeup day.
Ron, that's a lot of households for one day. Overtime would be out of control. We'd wind up picking up the garbage ourselves.
Move it, guys. We still got 500 more to go.
What time is it anyway? Late.
That's not a good idea.
How about this? We do Thursday's makeup on Monday, Friday's makeup on Tuesday. It's that simple.
Ron, what were you thinking about?
Oh, nothing.
Remember, for this week only, all Thursday trash pickup will be on Monday and Friday's pickup on Tuesday.
Okay, and we will have it on our website. We will run commercials on CCG TV. We will ask that the local media, television, news, and others run this information, and then we'll come back to you with the Christmas schedule. So I wanted to mention those couple of things. And then I do want to mention, but as you know, I'm not the technology person, but I do want to just quickly mention we've had some issues with the core switch in IT. And Director Forrest told us about that early, I guess months ago, and we proceeded to replace the old core switch, where the end of useful life on that core switch was in 2007. And so we replaced the core switch, and he had moved 50% of the government onto the new core switch when we had problems. And then we had the problem, of course, public safety had been taken care of, has been taken care of, and then I sent you some email where they took care of Public Works, and then they took care of Parks and Rec, and then they went to Metra, and so they've been moving around, but we've had some off and on problems. And but I will say that I've talked to IT staff, and none of the problems that we've had have put telephone service out for more than 30 minutes. Not hours, not days, but what they can account for is service was out in an area here or there for 30 minutes. I wanted to be clear on that. And so we've had some computer problems in an office where some were on, some were off, and they worked through that. We've worked with that for a number of days. But the IT staff have brought on the outside support that needs to be with us, and that's Cisco and Microsoft, to kind of expedite the process. And so I have an email here from the IT staff that says the old core switch has been removed from the network as of about 3 p.m. today. We're still in the process of configuring all of the locations on the new switch. So the old switch is completely out, and everything is now on the new switch. And so they're working tonight to continue, and will continue working until the new core switch is completely implemented. And so they're working out the bugs. So everything's over to the new core switch. They're working through the bugs of that. And so I just kind of wanted to give you an update. I know there's a news story in the paper, and but we've not. The IT staff have dealt with the problem, the issue, and they've dealt with it very well, and they're getting to where they need to be with the new core switch, and they continue to work through that issue. So I wanted you to have that just as a high-level update. I can't talk about the technical stuff. So if you got a question, I'll try and answer it. If not, we'll get you an answer.
We've got several questions. Councilor Davis.
I don't have any question on that. I have on a referral to the prior, what you mentioned to us, Mr. City Manager. I know we're in an agreement with Tyler Technologies, is working with the tax assessor's office and updating the reassessments and valuations of property. Could we get an update as to where we're at with that system and where we're at with updating and evaluating properties and how that's going to be entered into the system and when will it be operable?
Yeah, and we had planned to make sure we update you on all of that before you do anything, before you take a vote, because we want you to make an informed vote. And I told the mayor, I think, yesterday, that I've asked staff to get with Tyler and tell us where we are, just what you've asked for, an update, because the projected date was January 2017. We want to make sure that we're on schedule, and then we want to ask them some questions about tax allocation districts and how the new system will handle all of that. And so they're working on that, and we plan to give you an update on all of that and the timeline for implementation. We plan to talk about revaluations before you vote on any TADs. We plan to provide you that information.
Okay. Oh, we've got, is that all, Councilor Davis? Okay. Councilor Thomas?
Mr. City Manager, I spoke with Director Jones before the meeting and asked him, and just wanted you to know of this conversation, I asked him to provide to us some maps of the 4 proposed TAD districts, similar to the maps that he gives us when we're talking about a rezoning issue, that clearly shows the names of the streets and those kinds of things. it would be very helpful, if at all possible, if we could, or at least if I could see those, have those maps prior to the December 8th meeting. And I think it also might be good if we could have at those public hearings, I know our GIS department does, large maps and on poster board and that sort of thing. If we could have those available in the chamber, I think that would be helpful as we're talking about those various places. I know there are maps in this book that you gave us, but they are not very clear. So if we could do that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Is that it, Mr. City Manager?
That's,
Okay, great. Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor and Council, on the clerk's agenda, item 1 is a biographical sketch of Ms. Merlene Salamanca, this mayor's nominee for Circle Commission. We have 2 resignations from our Family and Children's Services, Ms. Tamika Luttrell and Mr. Samuel Rumor. Can we have?
We've got a motion and a second that we accept with regrets. All those in favor, please state aye.
Minutes of various boards.
We've got a motion and second that minutes be received. That's the minutes of the Board of Tax Commissioners and the Columbus Golf Course Authority. All those in favor, please state aye.
Have an add-on, excuse Councilor Allen.
Got a motion and second to approve the request, the resolution. All those in favor, please state aye.
On our board appointments, Airport Commission, we're still waiting to hear back from the authority for the nominees for Mr. Fernsberg's position. Animal Control Advisory Board, we tried to make contact with them on last week. We're waiting to hear back from them as to whether or not Dr. McDermott will continue to serve.
Now, Madam Clerk, I swore in a veterinarian today. She showed up and she had been approved. Dr. Riddick. So you might want to get with. No, I looked. She was voted on. So I'm just saying that our records show that it was referred to our office as having been approved, and somebody came in named Dr. Riddick and was sworn in.
We have not received a recommendation from the association, so I'm not quite sure.
She might be holding a different position, but if you would get with my office, please.
Okay.
And see why there's a discrepancy. But I do know she happens to be a veterinarian. Now, she may be holding another position, which is fine, but she reports to be a veterinarian, so she certainly seemed to be. Okay, she was delightful. That's not just, I don't mean to, I just noticed that this position still is.
She may be serving in another
capacity.
I believe they have 2 veterinarians on that board.
All right.
On our Circle Commission, Mr. John Wan's seat has been declared vacant, as well as Mr. Augusto. Mayor is nominating Ms. Salamanca for this post 10. She can be confirmed. Second.
We got a motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
And also we'll need a replacement for Ms. Mary Retinery, and these are council's appointments. Hospital Authority, we need 1 additional nominee for Mr. Smallman and Mr. Gaffney's seat.
All right. We don't have anything?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Personnel Review Board, we have seats expiring end of December, Mr. Charles Harp, Mr. Charles Little, and Mr. Ron Mahoney. They are eligible.
Would they like to succeed?
We've tried to make contact with them for.
We've got. Okay, and we have Councilor Thomas with a recommendation.
I have made some contact, and I would like to renominate all 3 of those.
All 3, because there's more than.
Mr. Hart, Mr. Little, and Mr. Mahoney.
Okay, and we will need a replacement for Mr. Gerald Wyatt, who is not eligible to succeed himself.
Now, I thought with those, didn't you provide council with a stack of resumes that came in a while back? Again, not knowing if those people want to serve, but if council is interested in nominating them, you can
That is
call.
correct, Madam Mayor. We have provided those to the council at our last meeting, and so they will be in ECAP from the last
That's for the
council
open
meeting.
position.
On our Recreation Advisory Board, Council District 2, Counselor Davis will need a replacement for Dr. Robert Johnson, who has resigned, as well as District 7, Ms. Tracy Belk has resigned, Counselor Woodson. Taxicab Commission, we're still working to get a replacement for Mr. Billy Kraft, who was the taxicab driver representative. On our tree board, Mr. William Consoletti and Mr. Chris Coakley. Mr. Coakley is not eligible. Ms. Ann Wright has been renominated. She can be confirmed.
Move confirmation.
We've got a motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
And Mr. Smith also cannot succeed himself. Uptown Facade Board, we are waiting to hear back from Uptown Columbus and Uptown Business on these two recommendations. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Madam Clerk, did we have a nomination for the Taxicab Commission?
No, we did.
Oh, okay, all right. They'll come in next time, I guess. All right. Okay, I think that closes us out. We've got Counselor Henderson.
Just a quick question. I don't miss them very often.